What's good, y'all? Welcome to the Substitute Preacher Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Johnson, aka the Substitute Preacher. This is a continuation of the Grind series. Got a couple guests coming up. Actually, this week I'll be recording with them, and those episodes will come out in the following week. So stay tuned for that. I hope you like the tea. Shout out the homie Stella, who makes these awesome t-shirts. Got the logo. This is clean, so if you want one, DM me. I'm giving a few out for free. I ordered some extra this time, and then if you miss out on that, you can always pay for your own. But Stella hooks it up. She does like cup designs. This ain't hers, but this a cool Batman cup for my mom. Pretty dope. Forgive my ADHD. But Stella, she, especially with Easter coming up, she makes designs and clothes and cups and all types of apparel and party decor. So check her out. I wasn't quite sure if I should like drop this as a video or I was planning on just making reels, but I figured, man, let me just make it all one big video, get it up on the YouTube, and then I'll just be kicking out reels from this on Instagram. So again, hopefully you're already subscribed to the channel. If not, please hit that button. Subscribe, comment, like, all those great things, and share with somebody for real. Like, if you're gonna share it, like, don't just share it with anybody, but put some thought into it. Like, man, I know someone who could really use this advice, especially, again, aiming at the younger people, but really just people in general. So one quick thing off topic. Y'all know I love football, obviously, and free agency is basically here, like the tampering period, but dudes is signing places and it's pretty cool. And so I'm really excited about my Raiders. They signed Christian Wilkins to team up with Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, the young rook from this past season, Tyree Wilson. So I'm excited. That pass rush might be crazy. And then on top of that, I still think we could use a veteran corner. So hopefully they sign. Hopefully this thing keeps on rolling. So we'll see who's next. We'll get some sports stuff up on the page soon. So just another thing to look forward to. That being said, I titled this episode Skipping the Grind. And it's a play on words because as a school teacher, and this has come up in some of the reels I post on Instagram. As a teacher, and this is me personally and obviously other teachers in my district, one of the common issues that we have to deal with is kids skipping or cutting class, ditching. And for most middle school, high school students, really the only grind they have is school. And honestly, I feel like it's doable. At least maintaining decent grades. And I talked with my last guest, Roman. Yeah, achieving a 4.0, that's challenging. Regardless of what school, what class you're taking, that you have to be on top of things. But to just kind of pass and get C's, a 2.0, for example, that should kind of be easy. School alone isn't too bad. Now, maybe some people have learning deficiencies and they need that extra attention and it's harder for them to focus. Maybe they have a disability. Then yes, of course. But just generally speaking, most kids, school shouldn't be too bad. Now, I will say it's easy for me to say this as a teacher. And so most of this series is going to be like the guests I'm bringing on are people who are elite at what they do. And the reasoning behind that is predicated on the grind. And that's why they're so successful, is because of all the hard work they put in. It's able to translate to them being successful. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit different because I want to talk about what happens when we slack off and what happens when we don't grind. You see, most things that we'll end up facing in life, most goals we have, or jobs or responsibilities, there's usually some type of grind that comes with it. There's usually some type of sacrifice. Things as simple as doing chores, going to school. And then obviously as you youngsters, as you guys get older and go to higher level school, college, or a trade school, the more you have to take in and process, the more challenging it's going to be. You can't just stay stagnant and expect to grow, learn, mature, succeed. And so the grind is it's crucial. Learn to just embrace the grind. It's hard. It is hard. Ever since college, and I've talked about some of the things I had to endure as a college student athlete. It was tough. But one thing I learned is that being tired, that's not an excuse. Anyone who wants to be successful, anyone who's going after something meaningful, they're tired. And I make the joke that I'm never tired because I'm always tired. And there's some days or weeks where I didn't really put an effort into my grind or my craft, or I'm not training as much that week. I'm not coaching. And so going to school and coming home, that's easy for me. Maybe I took a couple of days off at the gym. Like, I feel different. It's like, yeah, I have a little bit more energy. Yeah, I'm a little bit more awake, but what am I doing? It's almost like I'm sick. Like, there's this feeling of like, wow, I didn't do enough. I didn't accomplish anything. So in general, I'm trying to get after it. And so I end up tired. I did take some time off from going to the gym in the morning, but usually I wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym at 4:30 because I have to take my daughter to school and then go to work. And so the only time I can't go at 6, because if I finish, my workouts be kind of long. So if I finish at 7:30, I don't have time to take my daughter to school and get me to work on time. So I got to go extra early. Why can't I lift after school? Because I'm usually coaching or training. I'm doing things at church or trying to do things in the community. The best time for me is early. Now, I do enjoy it because I get it out the way, but is it really convenient for me? No, I want to sleep in. And honestly, there's just not enough hours in the day because I have to sacrifice something. If I work out after school and I'm coaching or training, doing church stuff, by the time I get home, I don't have time for my family. And that's unacceptable for me. Now, again, recently my schedule has been a little different. And so I haven't worked out in the morning, but tomorrow, literally tomorrow, I'm going with my dad. We're going to get it in together. Early. He's an early bird. I've kind of talked about that. I'm never tired because I'm always tired. I'm just used to it. It reminds me of in the first Avengers film when it's the ending battle and Bruce Banner, the Hulk, comes on over, but he's a human. He's in Bruce Banner form, and the aliens or whatever, the bad guys are coming, and Captain America goes, Bruce, now's a good time for you to get angry. And he kind of smirks and he goes, well, that's my secret. I'm always angry, and turns into the whole theater's going crazy. Heck of a scene. And it was exciting. But think about that, like really embracing something and taking on a persona or a character or a lifestyle. It just becomes second nature. And that's how the grind works. I promise you. So students, even something just as simple as school, get used to the routine, the habits. And you should. You're kind of forced to. Unfortunately, but then 5 days a week, wake up, set your alarm, wake up on time, get to school on time, go to your class, lunch. I don't know how your schedule is. We do the 4-class, hour-and-a-half class, whatever your schedule, learn the schedule, embrace the grind. All right, this is what I got to do. By month 2 or 3, you should already be in your groove. And students, they try and hide from the grind and how can I get out of this? Or, oh man, they complain. I have all this work. I don't like this teacher. And they try and get out of it. It's a sickness. It's, at least in the schools I'm teaching at, it's like a pandemic and it's just spreading. And more kids I'm seeing out of class. And so myself, people I'm teaching with, we've been brainstorming, like, how can we, and the vice principals involved, the principals, we got several vice principals, all the staff is like, how can we get these kids to just stop missing class? How can we get them to just do the right thing? I wish I had a solution. I don't right now. I mean, there's some things I've thought of out of the box, but short-term efficient solution, like I don't have one. However, I do want to encourage you kids today. And I want to just kind of analyze the situation, this process of going to class and also skipping class, skipping the grind, your grind. And what I'm going to do is a little bit of a compare and contrast. I have some data that I want to go over, and basically I conducted a survey, anonymous. I pulled a Family Feud and surveyed 100 students with the question being, why do kids cut class? What's the reason? And whether it's fitting to that kid personally, because a lot of the kids involved in the survey do cut class. Some of them took the survey leaving my class because I was kicking them out because they weren't in my class. So they were cutting their class. And so I just said, hey, give me your reason. And I came up with, obviously I took down the most common answers, and I came up with really 6 different categories based on the answers. A lot of them were similar, of course, but the main 6. And I just want to hit each one. These are reasons that, if I'm playing devil's advocate, these are reasons that you kids, that you should cut class. I'm on your side. These are my teaching glasses. I'm back to being a student. It's 2012, 2013. Mr. Johnson. I ain't Mr. Johnson. I'm Zay Johnson. I'm a student. Why should I cut class? Now, again, I was like Clarence. I went to a private school. Thank you, Jesus, because that helped keep me in line. It was hard. It was a little bit harder to cut class. I think. I mean, kids still did it, but it was never my thing, to be honest. Maybe a couple times a year. I don't know. It's been over 10 years. Middle school, I remember there was a few instances where I kind of cut class, or I would go late, or I'd ask to go to the bathroom and then never come back. Things these kids do now. But if I'm a student right now, why should I cut class? Why is it a good thing to cut class? So I'm going to give the reason. I'll let you guys know how many people voted for this one in the survey. And then I'm going to debunk it and basically say why it's unacceptable. Or maybe it is a good reason. So, with that being said, number 1. This got the least votes, but I think it is critical to the thought process of why kids cut class. And I labeled this the other category just because it got so few votes. But again, I do think it is significant. So the other category, only 5 votes. Kids said they don't like school. Class is too long. Again, our classes are like over an hour and a half. Or school or the class is boring. I think it got so few votes because these reasons are unacceptable. Tell your parents, tell your teachers, tell the principal, tell whoever, oh, I'm not going to go to school today because I don't like school. They're going to point to however other many kids are in your school and say, oh, well, they feel the same way. That's not a good excuse. Get your butt out of bed and go to school. Same thing with the class is too long. That's just the operation. That's just how they decided to do it. I believe teachers vote for that stuff yearly. So sometimes they make changes to that, but one student complaining about that, it ain't going to do it. School being boring or the class being boring, again, tough luck. In 5, 6, 7 years, when you guys are in the real world and working and you have a profession, whatever it may be, for your average person, most people go through multiple jobs. And we'll talk about this in my next series. I can't wait for this one, but we stuck in the grind. So I'm excited about this one now. So I won't jump too far ahead. But most people have multiple jobs before they find their career. So when you're 22, 23, regardless if you went to college or not, you're probably not in your career. Or maybe you're just starting. Maybe it's entry level, but you'll end up leaving soon anyways. Chances are there's going to be things you don't like about your job. Obviously, we all can use a little extra pay. So everyone's going to complain about their pay. Hey, yeah, I deserve a raise, or I should be getting paid more. I don't like doing these tasks. My work schedule is too long. I don't like overtime. Well, as an adult, if you go to your boss with that type of information, they're either going to say tough luck or they're going to say find another job. And most people don't just have the luxury of finding another job. So if you want to actually make money and get paid, then these excuses won't suffice. If they don't suffice in the real world, I'm telling you guys, what you're doing now is just there's patterns in this life. And if you're acting this way now, and if that's the reasons you don't go to school, it's not going to work out when you're an adult. And you're not going to be able to keep a job. And I'm going to feel really bad for you. So me, from a student's perspective, this 2012, I'm a junior. I'm getting that out of my head. I can't. Is it a good reason to not go to school? No, it's a good reason to think about not going to school or to not want to go to school. Absolutely. But realistically, actually not going to school for those reasons, no, bad. The fifth most common voted category is that I don't feel good. Maybe you tried playing sick, your parents called your BS and get out of bed, get ready for school, and they sent you. But maybe you was actually kind of for real lightweight sick. Maybe you have a headache, you can't focus. I think this is a legitimate reason to not go to class. However, using it as a reason to cut class, all right, I'm at school, I don't really feel well, I'm just not going to go. Let me find somewhere to hide or to mess with my friends. Not a good reason, guys. What I suggest is if it's really to the point where you can't, if it's physically you're out of it, go to the nurse's office. If you tried staying home, if your parents didn't let you, ask to go to the nurse's office. I think if it's something where you're just a little bit out of it and you're like, man, I'm not up to doing this work. I'm not in a good place right now. Now, this shouldn't be 2-3 times a week this is going on. But yeah, occasionally that happens to the best of us. It might happen at work. What do I do if I'm at work and I'm feeling out of it, but I kind of had to come anyways? I might talk to my superior, my manager, or as a teacher, I might talk to the head of the department. Hey, I'm kind of out of it today. I'm not gonna give the kids too much work. I'm gonna let them chill. As a PE coach, I'm gonna just give them free play for the day. I'm kind of messed up. How does that relate to you kids? Talk to your teacher, your professor. Hey, Mr. Mrs. So-and-so, I'm not sick, but I really don't feel good. Is it okay if I do this work at home or put my head down? What are they going to say? No, do your work. Like, if you're not up to it, actual decent human being teacher, they're going to understand that. Now, what can negate that reaction is if this is a regular occurrence. Guys, reputation is so important. So if I'm lying and doing this often, then of course your teacher's not going to believe you. And the boy who cried wolf, that's one of the greatest lessons in life. The one time where it is real, the teacher's gonna be like, no, you've been doing this the past couple weeks. And then you get mad at them, and then the teacher is the bad guy. Guys, don't skip class because you're a little bit off or out of it. Maybe you don't feel 100%. If you're able to come to school, participate. Show up, do your job. If you're not quite there, do what you can and talk to your teacher. They're human beings. All right, moving on. Number 4. This one received 14 votes. However, this one relates really closely to number 3. And that one received 26 votes. So 40 votes between them. That's pretty substantial. But I separated them for this reason. Number 4 is hang out with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Guys, again, you got your little boo thing. I ain't gonna hate. But the chances of this being real, I talked about love in the Valentine's episode with my wife. The chances of it being a real thing is slim to none. About 2% of high school relationships, high school sweethearts, lead to marriage. So, for one, the chances are that's not you. Okay, I'd hate to rain on your parade. Now, look, if you're passionately in love with this person and you feel that connection and vice versa, and hey, maybe it is going to last, and I wish you the best, but to jeopardize your schooling and your grades over a person that you feel cares about you, it doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron. If they cared about you, wouldn't they want you to be in class? Y'all could hang out after school. But again, I separated these because 2% actually get married and have a long-term relationship. Of that 2%, cut that in half because only half of those marriages last without divorce. So really 1% of all high school relationships end in a happy ending marriage. No divorce, live this beautiful life. Like that's incredible. Like it's an incredible story. And I've met a few high school sweethearts and it's special. So if you're trying to build that, great. If your significant other is suggesting that you skip class to hang with them because you guys love each other, honestly, the chances of you being in that 1% is very slim because they don't have your best interests. So hang in with your boyfriend or girlfriend. I didn't date too much in high school. Football was my love. And so I dated football. But if I was dating, all right, should I cut for you, baby girl? No. So not a good reason, not a good excuse. All right, I previewed number 3. So number 3, 26 votes, and that's hanging out with friends. Similarly, like if these are your friends, for them to draw you away from class, hey, come hang with us. We're going to skip class. Are they really good friends for you? I talk often about your surroundings. And if you're with people who are doing well for themselves, the chances are that's going to rub off on you. Be with people who are going to elevate you. So if your friends are like, man, come out of class with us, and that's what they do often, they cut class, they skip the grind, they're going, even if it's just every so often you do it, eventually either you're going to rub off on them or they're going to rub off on you. And if you're succumbing to that peer pressure, they're rubbing off on you. And soon you'll be an habitual cutter. So, Zay, should I skip class with my friends? I had really good friends in high school. They wasn't doing that too often. A lot of them are doing really well for themselves now. And it all makes sense because back then they prioritized their schooling and success in that and in sports and in other productive areas that they weren't even really thinking about those other things. That's just nonsense. All right, guys, last 2. Real quick, take a guess. If you're watching this with someone, take a guess and you tell the person you're watching with what you think these last 2 are. While I take a sip of water. All right. Oh, shoot. All right. I messed up. This was actually technically number 3. But again, the 3 and 4 were related. Hang out with friends, hang out with boyfriend or girlfriend. So I kind of put them in the same boat. This would have been number 3 after hang out with friends with 15 votes. Doing drugs. And if this was Family Feud and you slapped the buzzer and you said drinking, you'd get the points. These 15 voters said something drug-related, alcohol, vaping, all that type of stuff. Basically just doing the wrong type of things. That wasn't my thing. I prioritized my health as a young athlete in high school, even though I ate really bad. I'm a sweet treat monster, but I was always working out. I didn't want to mess with that stuff. Kids, listen, if you drink a little here and there, you go out to parties or you smoke weed, hey, I'm not gonna kill you in that regard. However, Listen to me carefully. If you feel like you have to smoke, vape, drink on campus, at school, in a place where you can get expelled and kicked out and ruin your reputation, your parents, guys, if it's that important to you, you have a real problem and a real addiction. And so I pray for you. Really think about that. If you're in that boat, the fact that you feel like you need to do it, it's either, I'm guessing it's either peer pressure. People are kind of, hey, here, try this. Some of your friends, and then you're just with the wrong crowd. Find kids who are going to help elevate you. They're not those kids. But if you feel like, man, I need to do this every chance you get at school, or for some of you older people, at your job, where it can cause you to get fired and is messing with your money, get some help. For real, get some help. There's no reason at all. Some of these, again, I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe, hey, if she's the one, maybe I'll hang out with her. Maybe I'll cut class once or twice to be with her. Cutting class to do drugs, alcohol, to vape, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's not a reason. Now, again, if that's your thing and after school, I'm in no way promoting that. I don't promote that at all. But that's one thing. Doing it at school, at your job, don't. And if you feel that desire to do it, that it's burning in you, like, man, I gotta do this. I'm itching for it. You have a problem. You have an addiction. Coming in at number 1. This one hits home. And fortunately, a lot of people don't cut my class, so I don't think a lot of them are in this category, but I'm not perfect, so who knows? Maybe some of them do. Number 1, Steve. Beep, I hit the buzzer. Steve Harvey asked me the question. Number 1, Steve, I know it's on the board because I cheated, I got the answers. It's that they don't like their teacher. I thought that was interesting. The skipping for drugs and vaping, like I've caught people and I know kids have issues and that's kind of where they go to. So I wasn't surprised by those votes. Hanging out with friends, that's the most, obviously that's technically number 2. That combined with hanging with their boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm not surprised by that because usually kids cut in groups. Like there's 2 kids or there's a little group of them hiding and they don't like their teacher. So teachers, this part of the message is for you. Yes, of course, it's not our job to cater to kids and make them like us, but be approachable. Try and make your class fun and appealing towards these kids. Build a relationship with the kids. And I think that solves a lot of the issues there. So if you're a teacher, really think about those things. Are a lot of kids cutting my class? Okay, yeah, maybe they are hanging with their friends. Maybe they're doing drugs and things they're not supposed to. Maybe they don't feel good and they just don't feel comfortable telling me. But there's a really good chance, a third of the votes, they don't like their teacher. Maybe they're scared of you. Maybe they don't like you. I've noticed with these high school kids, when they're scared, they won't say nothing. They'll just leave. They're very non-confrontational. Teachers, you signed up for this. Maybe we don't get paid enough. Maybe these kids are bad and act a fool and this generation is crazy, but you signed up for it. You have an obligation. You have a responsibility. Accept it, embrace it. Really do some soul searching, teachers, and try not to be a part of the problem. Again, it's not an excuse. Kids is not an excuse. It's not good. And I'll get into the reason in just a sec for you kids. But teachers, come on, let's get it. Like, let's rally together. Let's make an impact in these kids' lives. And maybe they won't cut as much. All right. For you kids, me, young Zay, in high school, I ain't feeling this teacher. He don't like me. He's hating. Well, chances are, if I'm cutting class, they're not going to like me even more. The fact that I feel like they don't like me in the first place means I'm going to have to work even harder to get a good grade. They're looking for any excuse, any chance they get if they don't like you to give you a bad grade. So again, not going to class in that instance is counterintuitive. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to prove them right that I'm a crappy student. And two, now they're winning. They just get to, all right, they ain't here. Guys, when you're not in class, you are failing. You are failing. 99% of schools and classes and teachers grade this way. An unexcused absence, especially if they find out you're cutting, it's failure. You failed that day. You got a 0. Now, yeah, maybe they'll let you make up the classwork or you'll have homework later and you could do it. Fine, you'll get some points. But not showing up, not being present, it's an F. It is failure. So why am I mentioned this last episode, the way you do something is how you do everything. If I'm absent in school, I'm going to be absent once I graduate, I get my first job, I'm calling out all the time. Oh, now I knocked up, now I got a baby mama. I'm not going to be in the baby's life. I'm going to be absent in their life. These are habits we're building. To use that excuse, I don't like the teacher, is just not good enough, y'all. It really ain't. So me as a student, was there teachers I felt that hated, even just like playing football? Was there coaches I felt that didn't like me or hated? Absolutely. But am I just going to not go to practice? No, now I'm really not going to play. They're not trying to play me anyways. I'm going to grind harder and prove you wrong. Shoot, nah, you ain't getting in the way of my success, because that's what y'all are saying. If that wasn't the case and the teacher did like you or you liked the teacher, you would be there succeeding. That's what this tells me, if that's your excuse. So why let them win? Don't let them win. Take care of your business and do the right thing. Go to class. I just want to finish real quick. Got a couple points of why you shouldn't cut class. Besides, obviously, some of the rebuttals spoke for themselves. Number one, again, you are failing. You are failing when you're not in class. Don't be a failure. If you fail in one area of your life, if you don't really care, it's going to bleed into other areas. I promise you. Number two, teachers talk. Cutting class, if they see you, if they find out, you're leaving a bad impression on that teacher. Some of you guys may not go to college, or maybe you're during high school, you're trying to find a job, and that's great. I encourage that. Work while in school. But guys, don't you realize businesses, corporations, really any type of job you're going to get, they do reference checks. They want to make sure that they're hiring someone who's going to do the job well. For kids, they've never really worked anywhere. So what is the reference check for kids? A letter of recommendation. Who can provide that? Your teachers, your coaches. So if you're not showing up, ain't nobody gonna lie. That's their reputation online. If they lie for you, you get the job and then you don't show up, the job's gonna look at you like, so what's going on? You lied to us? We can't come to you no more. We can't trust you. Now they look bad. Take pride in what you're doing and show up. The third reason why you shouldn't cut class is that you have to play catch up. You're setting yourself back. Guys, occasionally, if once in a blue moon, I see a kid cutting, one of my athletes, it's like, hey, come on, get back to class. But I know this ain't them. Fine, all right, that's cool. But the more you make a habit of it, the more extra work you have to do. If your intention is to just fail, then fine, you're doing a great job. But if you actually want to get decent grades, cutting is only going to make it more challenging. For some of you guys, it's hard enough. I'm not the smartest guy, or I struggle doing a lot of work. Fine, I understand that. But not being in class only makes that more difficult. It only gives you more work. You have to play catch up. Now it's tough. Lastly, number 4, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, it just sets a bad precedent. It sets the stage for you not being a hard worker, for you being a failure. If I'm cutting class, I'm not going to be able to just flip the switch and somehow you got into college and now I go to class in college. I said that I didn't cut much class in middle school and high school. In college, I did. Now, college, you're juggling more. I was a student athlete, but I kind of figured out a way, and I underachieved academically in college. And I used football as an excuse. And I committed so much to football and put in so much work. But yeah, I would cut class. It's different though because you're in a lecture hall and you don't have homework or classwork all the time. You may have just a midterm and a final, and that's it. Maybe one or two papers or assignments. So it's a little bit different. But you're setting the precedent for you to do the same elsewhere. Whether it's college, whether you go right into work, you're going to no call, no show, and that's how you get fired. That's how you lose money. And that's how, going back to having a good reputation, and next series we're going to talk about this, so stay tuned, be ready. But if someone has your resume in front of them and you've had 3 jobs in the last 8 months, they're going to question that. Well, why do you keep leaving all these jobs? And yeah, you may be able to lie and say, give them excuses. But then when they fact check it and they call your references, those old jobs are just going to say they didn't show up to work consistently. Or their effort wasn't great. I don't suggest you hire this person. It's messing you up. Guys, quit looking for shortcuts. Embrace the grind, whatever it is. Again, you students, it breaks my heart seeing groups of students every single day missing 2-3 classes a day. They're not going. They're out and about. Get it together, y'all. Like, for real, wake up. Oh, I'm just a freshman. It doesn't matter. You got 3 more years. It goes quick. And then you're in the real world. You're 18. You either got to go to school or you got to go to work. Or you got to munch off your mom and dad, and then no one's going to like you. You ain't going to get a girlfriend that way. You ain't going to get a boyfriend that way. It's just whack. Figure out a way to love the grind. Yeah, you may be tired. I get it. Get used to it. It's going to make doing the challenging things, doing the hard things a lot easier. So really, that's all I got for y'all. Again, follow the Instagram at The Substitute Preacher. I'm going to be dropping some reels with clips of these. Share them with a friend, someone who needs it. Maybe the same buddy you cut class with, send it to them. And I hope you have second thoughts the next time you try and cut class. Is it valid to cut class? Not really. I just broke it down for you. Now, if you go to my school or some of the schools I be at, if you see me in public, whatever, and you don't really agree with what I'm saying, please, we can have that conversation. But y'all gave me the reasons. I gave you the reasons why not. Why you shouldn't cut class. Cut the grind. Skip the grind. Cut the nonsense and just go to class. Guys, I'm so excited. This week I have 2 interviews for this series. I've told some of you, one is a professional dancer and model. She was, and we'll talk about this on the show, she was a participant in Dancing with the Stars, which is insane. Like, she's done it at the highest level. So we'll just kind of get into her grind and what that process looks like. Also, one of my former teammates who was a very high-level football player. We used to battle and go head up all the time in practice, and I hated it. He was a straight-up dog, and he's one of the greatest grinders I've ever had the privilege of practicing with and playing and watching. And we'll just kind of get into he has an incredible story, a lot of amazing things he's experienced and overcame. And now he's a professional boxer. Again, you may not reach a certain goal in one area, but the habits and the character that you have through that process is going to carry over to the next thing. So now he's grinding, he's running all the time and in incredible shape. He does it all. So it's going to be fun having him on the show, one of my good friends. So stay tuned. God bless y'all. I'll close this out with a quick prayer. Father God, I thank you for all your blessings. And And even though sometimes we look at it as a hassle or as an obstacle, thank you for the grind, God, that we have the opportunity to work hard and put forth our best effort and come up with new ways to try and get better, to glorify you, Father God. I thank you so much. Help us to stay committed to whatever our grind may be, school, profession, sports. I pray for these kids, God, in school. Help them to be positively influenced. Help them to seek others who are going to help them grow. Help them get better and reach their goals, Lord. I pray for anyone struggling, anyone going through it, that you help them overcome. In Jesus' name, I give you all the honor and glory. Amen.